Welcome to another episode of Health Coach Talk. I'm your host, Dr. Sandi Scheinbaum, and today I have a conversation about something that some people who, particularly health coaches, might not be aware of how it might be impacting them or their clients. And it has to do with betrayal. And as a result of wanting to explore this topic, I brought on the expert in post betrayal, and particularly post betrayal transformation. Her name is Dr. Debi Silber. I am proud to call her a friend. Let me tell you just a little bit about the amazing Dr. Debi. She is a researcher, she's a speaker, she's the founder of the PBT, Post Betrayal Transformation Institute, an organization that trains health coaches, all kinds of coaches, healers, practitioners, in uncovering what they were never trained to see: unhealed betrayal. Through that lens, coaches are finally able to help their most resistant and stuck clients move forward in ways that nothing else has been able to touch. Her PhD research uncovered 3 groundbreaking discoveries: that betrayal is a distinct type of experience that needs a specific way to heal, that post-betrayal syndrome is real and identifiable as a cluster of physical, mental, and emotional symptoms common after a betrayal. And she's identified the 5 stages of betrayal recovery. She has a TED Talk. She's a 2-time TEDx speaker with over 2 million combined views, a 2-time #1 international best-selling author, the host of the top-ranked podcast From Betrayal to Breakthrough, and her latest book, Unstuck, The Practitioner's Guide to Moving Betrayal Clients from Survival to Transformation, speaks directly to coaches and practitioners ready to go deeper with their clients. I know that you are going to find my conversation with Dr. Debi to be fascinating. So here is my conversation. Welcome, Dr. Debi.
Oh, thank you so much. So looking forward to our conversation.
Well, you are somebody who is really leading the way in a groundbreaking theory, but not just theory, but putting it into practice. And you have helped so many people. So let's start at the beginning. Let's talk about this betrayal syndrome, because I know that we have a lot of coaches in this audience who may not be aware. They may know what betrayal is, but how does it impact? Perhaps it's impacting their clients, and that client may not be having a breakthrough because of some past betrayal. So let's start there and really talk about what is betrayal and how can a coach recognize it?
I love that question because betrayal is so sneaky, and the best coaches, they're not trained to look for it. This was never taught in any coaching curriculum. So it's one of those things, when you know the language of it, you know how to spot it. But what betrayal does is first of all, it's such a unique type of experience. And so anybody who says trauma is trauma, that's not true, because the invitation after any trauma is to rebuild, let's say, your life. Like, let's say you lose someone you love. You grieve, you're sad, you mourn the loss, life will never be the same. But betrayal is so different, because not only is the invitation to rebuild your life, you need to rebuild the self, all that was shattered: rejection, abandonment, belonging, confidence, worthiness, trust. That's unique to betrayal. So when people think, okay, well, I'm just rebuilding my life, they're missing that whole self piece. And then they assume, let's say it's years later, well, surely I'm over it by now. No, betrayal is one of those types of experiences that, until and unless you intentionally and deliberately heal it, it will follow you around into your work, into your health, into your relationships. And so the best health coaches are working with clients with symptoms of post betrayal syndrome. And I'm happy to dive into that a little bit more. And these symptoms originated with the betrayal. So there's so much to it, even the trust aspect. when you think about it, the nature of trust, we have our own system to decide if someone is trustworthy. Like, let's say they do 50 or 100 things, and we see them do something consistently, repeatedly, 50 or 100 times. We decide, okay, now they are trustworthy. Now that person betrays us. What's so shattering and so shocking is not only that they betrayed us, we look at it and say, oh, my whole system I created to discern trustworthiness is fundamentally flawed. I can't trust myself. So when that's what you're walking around with, you're bringing that into every experience going forward.
So, this was something you really came upon in your doctoral work, calling it the Post Betrayal Syndrome, and you created an institute. The PBT Institute, to train coaches, to train providers, and really to help people to be able to identify this, and most importantly, to help people through it so that they can come out on the other side resilient and strong.
Yeah. And resilience is beautiful, transformation is the goal. And I use this analogy to see the difference between the two. Like, let's say there's this old house, and the old house needs a new roof, and you get a new roof. That would be resilience. Or let's say it needs a new paint job, and you paint. That's resilience. You're restoring it. You're bringing back. Here's what happens with betrayal. It's like a tornado comes along and levels the house. A new roof's not going to fix it. A new paint job's not going to fix it. Now, you have every right to stand there and mourn the loss of your house and bring all your friends over and show them, and they'd all agree it's tragic. If, however, if you choose to rebuild the house, you don't have to, but if you choose to, why would you build the same one? There's nothing there. Right? Why not give it everything the old house didn't have? That's the opportunity in betrayal when someone understands the 5 stages of betrayal recovery. And that's what we do. We train coaches in those 5 stages. So, like, here's a classic example. Someone will get to a place of where they say, I'm fine. So, in a typical coaching relationship, the relationship may end. They may graduate that client because they're fine. They're better than they were, and they send them off. However, according to the 5 stages of betrayal recovery, that's only stage 3. That's only stage 3. So when they learn that, and then they're like, oh my gosh, I've been sending clients away before the transformation, they're both denying themselves the most exciting, fulfilling part of the coaching relationship, which is the transformation. That happens in stages 4 and 5. And happy to talk about the 5 stages as well.
Yeah, so while we're on that subject, I know our audience would love to know, what are those 5 stages and how can they
Yeah.
help people through each of them?
Yeah, sure. And I want to share this, that through the coaching lens, I just want to, share that your clients are likely not coming to you for betrayal. They're coming because of a weight issue, because of an immune issue, because of a gut issue, because of some sort of health issue. But you will see when I share after, if I can, the symptoms of post betrayal syndrome, they all started because of that betrayal. So, all right, let me dive into the stages. So, that stage 1, this is actually before it happens. And here's where, when we're in what we believe is a healthy relationship, we're not scanning for betrayal. We're living our lives. We're working, we're raising kids, taking care of elderly parents, whatever it is we have going on. So, this is why betrayal is such a shock, because we're not looking for it. We assume we're in a relationship where it's not a factor. And we also, because we have so much to do, we intentionally or unintentionally turn down our intuition. And we do that because when we're busy, we're able to get more done if we do more thinking and doing versus feeling and being. But I want to share this as well. Sometimes we intentionally turn down our intuition. And we do that because we say things like, I must be imagining that there must be a good explanation. I'm sure there's a good reason for it. And we do that because if we were to confront what we feel is happening, we're going to likely create everything will unravel. And we may not have the mental, the emotional, maybe the financial bandwidth to take that on. So we look the other way. We intentionally turn down our intuition. And then there's the shock and the trauma, D-Day, discovery day. This is stage 2, the scariest of all of the stages. And here's where we do that rumination. And in the beginning, it's really, really important. And we're doing that because we want to find what we missed. Because if we can, it's giving us that sense of, okay, if I can figure out what I didn't see, it's going to prevent this from happening again. Really important right here. But here's where we ignite the stress response. We're now headed for every single stress related symptom, illness, condition, disease. The mind is in a complete and total state of chaos and overwhelm. The bottom has bottomed out on us and a new bottom hasn't been formed yet. This is terrifying, right? But think about it. If the bottom were to bottom out on you, what would you do? You grab hold of anything or anyone in order to stay safe and stay alive. That's stage 3. Here's where most health coach clients are coming in right here, because now they're struggling with symptoms of post-betrayal syndrome. They're managing their lives. They're actually functioning. They've created a functional, foundational sort of life again. They're fine, right? But it's behind walls. It's with a flatness. It's without that, they're unwilling to risk that level of vulnerability again. It's all behind the walls because it's like, I'm functioning. I'm going back to work. I'm taking care of the kids. I'm doing all the things. But meanwhile, they're managing and suppressing symptoms of post-betrayal syndrome. Nothing has really changed. So they're at risk for repeat betrayals. They're fine. And now because they're so unhappy, right here is where they start numbing, avoiding, distracting. So now they're using food, drugs, alcohol, work, all these things. They do it for a day, a week, a month. Now it's a habit, a year, 10 years, 20 years. I can see someone 20 years later and say that emotional eating you're doing. Do you think that has anything to do with your betrayal? And they'd look at me like I'm crazy. They'd say it happened 20 years ago.
Yeah.
All they did was put themselves in stage 3. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. Makes so much sense.
It's the most common place most people get stuck. Yeah. So now the most brilliant health coaches, and I know you work with them, the most brilliant health coaches are helping them with their sleep, with their immune issues, with their weight issues, with all of this, where at the root of it is an unhealed betrayal. Like, for example, 45% of everyone betrayed has a gut issue of some kind. IBS, diverticulitis, Crohn's, reflux, you name it. And we had a woman in our program when we were still seeing members within the PBT Institute in her mid-80s. And she had a 70-plus year digestive issue. It was a family betrayal. She was adopted. Wow. They didn't tell her, something like that. So for 70-plus years, you can imagine the supplements, the protocols, the food, the medicine, for her just to resign herself to believing, I have a bad stomach. It's just who I am. 2 weeks into healing the betrayal, she healed from a 70-plus year digestive issue.
Wow.
But that's what happens when you get to the root cause.
Yeah.
And we see that with every single symptom of post-betrayal syndrome. Anyway, if we're willingness is a big word right here, to grieve, mourn the loss, let go of the story, all it gives us, all of it, we move to stage 4. Stage 4 is finding and adjusting to a new normal. Here's where we acknowledge, I can't undo what happened, but I control what I do with it. Very forward moving, very action oriented. This is the part of coaching that's so exciting to be a part of. But when we let them go in the I'm fine part, we're denied all of that. So now they're deliberately and intentionally creating this new version of themselves. Who am I ready to become? What have I outgrown? What doesn't serve me anymore? What was I tolerating? All of it. Once we've settled into that space, we move into the 5th most beautiful stage, and this is healing, rebirth, and a new worldview. Here's where beautiful new levels of health, new businesses, new passion projects, new relationships, either with the person who hurt them in a very different way or with someone entirely new. They didn't have the bandwidth for any of that in stage 3, but in stage 5, it's all available.
This is really phenomenal how you have outlined these stages. And for somebody listening who thinks, well, this sounds a lot like maybe my clients need psychotherapy and they don't want to go out of scope of practice to be actually doing psychotherapy, making a diagnosis of post-betrayal syndrome if they are health coaches. So can you address that issue? where
Yeah, it's a great
you're
question.
exploring this, but can you do it without doing it as psychotherapy?
Oh, absolutely. And we certify hundreds of coaches, and there's a very distinct line between what they're doing and what a therapist would do. And you know what's so interesting? The therapists and well-meaning, well-intentioned, big-hearted therapists, they're actually harder to certify
I
because
can believe that.
that client is feeling
Yeah.
heard and validated and understood. And what's happening is they're actually locking them into stage three, where coaches are wired differently. It's always forward moving. And even in the
Yes.
training, we teach it doesn't matter if you're moving them 1 degree, 5 degrees, 7 degrees, you are moving them towards the next stage in every single session. But the language that a coach is using, the interventions the coach is using, is all centered around being within their scope. They're not doing anything that that a therapist would do. So it's very clear. And that's why, and I know coaches love handouts and worksheets and assessments.
Yeah.
It is completely catered to the coach.
Yeah.
And that's
Well,
that's really who it's designed for.
that's beautiful because, and I just want to be clear for anyone listening that this is not a new disorder. This is not in the DSM manual of mental
No.
disorders that we're talking about. So you are not diagnosing, whereas a therapist might look at this and say this person has major depressive disorder or generalized anxiety or a combination of the two, and help and dig into the past without focusing on moving forward and really helping that client to come to their own insights, but most importantly, how they're going to change moving forward. So this is so common. And as you're talking, I can think of I had two very close friends.
Mhm.
Both of them had husbands who all of a sudden just walked out, left them for other women. And both of my friends never got over it and still keeping the clothes in the closet thinking they would come back one day. Or one actually mentioned addictive behaviors, took up smoking. Eventually they both passed away at an early age. One ended up lung cancer from the smoking, and the other as well never really recovered, got over that betrayal of her former husband, and even if it was years later, would still obsess and talk about them constantly. So I think those are good examples, and we tend to think of when somebody's betrayed you. But are situations that perhaps at work where you've been betrayed, other examples that might
Oh,
not come to mind as easily as a husband cheating on them?
yeah. Just to your point, those are two people who were so deeply stuck in stage three.
Yeah.
And it is the most common place we get stuck. But I just want to just before I respond to your question, think about the power you're giving that experience or giving that person. Like the worst of it happened already. You owe it to yourself to move through the stages and use the absolute crash and burn of the old to rebuild something completely entirely new. That's the opportunity, and it's so missed when someone is hanging on to the familiar known. That's the only thing. It's familiar. That's it. But if they were to move into stages 4 and 5, they wouldn't. If they knew what stages 4 and 5 felt like, they wouldn't stay
Yeah.
in stage three for a minute. It's really like, imagine two best friends and they're both 30 pounds overweight. They're fine. It's not stopping them from doing anything. They put themselves together, they're living their lives. And
Yeah.
then one day, one friend says, you know what? I'm so done with the 30 pounds. I'm losing the weight. And she does. And she's now wearing clothes she chooses versus what fits, has more energy, whatever it means for her. And she says to her other friend, come on, it's so good over here. And the other friend says, I'm fine. And the truth is, she is. But if she knew what that felt like, she wouldn't
Yeah.
waste a minute there.
Yeah.
So that was what you shared was a classic example, classic of stage three. To answer your question, yes, betrayal it's the breaking of a spoken or unspoken rule.
Mm.
So this could be someone in a position of authority. It could be, a parent, a teacher, someone in a religious capacity, a boss, a coworker.
Yeah.
Anytime the spoken or unspoken rule was broken, that's a betrayal, and self-betrayal as well.
Yeah. There's a television series that's new that been watching called Madison with Michelle Pfeiffer,
Mhm.
and she is the part she's playing, the central character, is a woman who suddenly loses her husband.
Mhm.
And there's a scene in there where she talks about, I thought we would be, having wheelchair races in the home together and live out our lives together. And now she's a young widow,
Mhm.
and is completely like blindsided, and is full of, there's a scene where she is so angry
Mhm. Mhm.
that this occurred. And so I wonder if it be situations that just it happened. It happened to be an accident in
Mhm.
this show, but and so she's angry, and really can't get past it. And the whole season one is about how she's struggling to come to acceptance of this betrayal, that she thought she'd always have the love of her life
Yeah,
by her
betrayal of
side. Yeah,
expectations. The expectation was they'd grow old together.
yeah, yeah,
She didn't get that, right? Breaking of that spoken or unspoken rule. So yes, the anger is there, and the sense of lack of justice. So what is this? I feel ripped off. I
yeah.
didn't get what I signed up for. That's a betrayal. But the biggest piece that you see that's common throughout is that anger and that bitterness and that
Mm,
resentment. And I mean, when you think of what creates illness and disease, there you have it. And these are all symptoms of post betrayal syndrome. And the beautiful piece of it is what we see healed physically, mentally, emotionally as someone moves through. It's so beautiful to watch because the anger gone, the gut issues gone. And but most people just they're gripping for dear life in that stage 3.
yeah,
And it's such a disservice, and they don't know there's anything else.
yeah.
And the longer they're there, the harder it is to leave. It's like they're wearing these foggy goggles, the glasses, for so long they don't even know they have them on.
Yeah. As we're talking about this, I thought about that. We're about to release a new course on perimenopause and menopause.
Mhm.
And we have a lot of content about body image changes, identity shifts during this time of your life. And I wonder if this is a time when particularly women are really at risk. So that whereas at other phases, maybe when they were in their 20s, they might have coped with a betrayal or better, or had more and now they're already issues of, my body's changing, I don't recognize who I am, they've got hormone fluctuations,
Right.
and so can you comment, have you seen this, that this is a particularly vulnerable time for somebody to be at risk for this syndrome?
Yeah, it is because one of the first things that people do is blame themselves. And
Yeah,
here's the thing, and if you have to say this a million times, it's worth it, even though it happened to you. It's not about you, but we take it personally. So we think this is, I wasn't enough in some way. I
yeah,
wasn't young enough, pretty enough, thin
that's
enough,
right.
rich
Yeah,
enough, whatever enough. And we think that's what caused it. And so now, add on to that, our bodies are changing. We're not feeling as good in our own skin, and it compounds it. And add to that, if we've felt that way for a while, or if we've been betrayed in the past and that hasn't been healed, now we believe it's got to be me. I've got to be less than, unworthy, undeserving, whatever it is, because why else would this happen? And it's all because that betrayal, the original betrayal, the original feeling, whatever it was never healed.
yeah,
And yes, in those years, we need extra love and support and kindness and care and compassion. And this is such a hit, such a blow to the self.
yeah. And so coaches who have clients who are experiencing this in terms of their life stage, to be on the lookout and to see what are some signs that if somebody's not making progress, What are they missing? And this is certainly such an important area and something that so many people are feeling betrayed, not only in a relationship, but passed over for a promotion at work, or they see a younger person getting a position that they were very well qualified for, or just worried about the possibility of this occurrence. You have a
Eh,
book that I want to turn to because
Yeah.
I think it's something that I'd love our audience to know about. Can you
Mhm.
talk about Unstuck?
Yeah, so Unstuck is my newest book, and that's for practitioners because I want practitioners to know the psychographic of
Yeah,
that client, the who's coming their way. I want them to know the language of it. Like, for example, the people pleaser or the most resistant client. Those are most likely betrayal clients. So if you know how to spot it, you'll know when they say, no, no, I'm fine, I'm good. You'll say, oh, no, that's a betrayal issue.
yeah,
And you'll
yeah.
know the questions to ask to get to what's going on so that you take them so much further. So, Unstuck is for practitioners to know the 5 stages, know the symptoms of post betrayal syndrome, know what someone coming in will say, what it sounds like, what it looks like, just so that you could be just
Mhm.
help them so much more effectively because this is something that they're likely not going to come out and say, but if it's in their background, it's showing up in your sessions. They're coming your way anyway. So knowing what they look like, sound like, is going to just help you work with them so much more effectively.
There's something else that I wanted to, before we end our conversation, to point out, and that is, I have known you for so many years, and you had this discovery and you went full out to create, to write a book, to do TED Talks, to have a very successful institute, which I like to talk about. And often a question we get from people who are just entering the health coaching world or considering becoming health coaches is, I don't know, should I just serve everybody? And you really dialed in to this population. And now that's what you're known for. You are the discoverer, you are the developer of your institute. And so when somebody talks to me about betrayal, Dr. Debi Silber, there's no one else, comes to mind. And so I just want to encourage anyone listening who is doubting the value of going really narrow with who you are going to serve, that you have been so successful and really have helped so many people because of your desire to go deep on this subject. And
Thank you so much,
yeah.
Cindy. And you know how I do not like to brag, and it's so uncomfortable. But just for the health coaches hearing this, wondering if they should niche, I just learned that I'm the world's leading expert in how betrayal recovery impacts human performance. So,
Yes,
so
yes,
and you know me, just
yeah,
me.
yeah.
So what I'm saying is when you have something that you're so passionate about, whatever that angle is, and of course it's driven by my own experiences, right? There are so many people who need what you uniquely have in the way that only you can deliver it. And you're learning from a legend right here. So, right? I mean, look, Dr. Sandi. So that you can take that information and apply it in the way that only you uniquely can, you're going to make such an impact and such a difference with those who need it.
Something we didn't talk about that I want to make sure we cover, and that is thoughts about forgiveness.
Mm.
Because based on both the person who was betrayed as
Mhm.
well as the betrayer, if you are thinking, oh, what did I do? And the value of forgiveness, of reconciling, can you address those issues?
Sure. Well, I founded National Forgiveness Day, so I'm a big
That's where I was going with that.
November 1st, so I'm a big believer in forgiveness. It's a charged word for so many people, but when I talk about forgiveness, it's really about releasing the power all that pain has over us. So let's say you're the betrayed. Now, here I can hear the betrayed saying, well, why do I have to forgive? I didn't do anything wrong. Were you harsh and critical on yourself? Were you blaming yourself? Did you not give yourself the time, the space, the grace that you needed? Forgive
Yeah.
that. Forgive yourself for that. Right? This was one of the most painful of the human experiences. So that needs to be forgiven. For the betrayer, after, and this is important, after you would have done everything humanly possible to right the wrong. And if you can't, if that person's no longer alive or whatever it is, pay it forward in whatever way you can. Bring, because how do you heal shame? You bring light to it, you bring honor to it. Once you've done all of that, forgive yourself.
Mm-hmm. Such an important message. So tell us about the PBT Institute.
Yeah, so the PBT Institute is we really have two tracks. We have it's the number one betrayal recovery certification for coaches. So that's one avenue, and this is just to work alongside of any other coach practitioner certification, what they're doing, and it's just about the 5 stages. And then we're going into corporate, so it's really about getting companies to just have a healthier, happier workforce, because I have heard so many people saying, I'm going to lose my job, I can't hold it together, I'm in sales, I can't sell, and time after time after time. So we thought, okay, now what if we just bring this into companies, because they're paying to have people speak on stress and on trust and on psychological safety, and at the root of all of that is betrayal. So we're going at it where the root is, and that's betrayal.
Oh, so amazing, all that you've accomplished and will continue to accomplish. Dr. Debi, where can people find you?
Oh, thank you. Everything is at the PBT, as in Post Betrayal Transformation, thepbtinstitute.com.
Awesome. Well, this has been an incredible conversation, and I am so proud to call you a friend and colleague.
You too, my friend.
So, thank you.
Thank you.